Get your story here.
More than 300 million stories in a great big country in a great big world.
Story of my life.
But I'm just looking for one story, yours.
Do you want to tell me your story?
Sure.
I'm a storyteller who believes everyone has an important life. You see, I believe it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, you matter.
Everyone has a story to tell.
I believe that.
On this show, I have just 3 rules. The story has to happen randomly. I do a story on the first person who says yes, and no story ever gets cut. So sit back and enjoy, because you got a story.
Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode, the very first story of You Got a Story. And as the fundraising increases, we're going to expand these episodes, these stories. Right now we're going to start with one story. So go to YouGotAStory.com and please donate. Subtle hint there. We're going to have a great story right now. I have no idea what that story is going to be, but you know how I operate. It's going to be picked randomly out of this hat from all the people who submitted their stories. I'm going to blindly choose from this hat. This hat has a great story. This hat was given to me by a man I interviewed on the Story Trek. You remember that show? In Montana. He was from Germany and he was vacationing. Go look at that episode someday. So let's see who our first person to be interviewed on You Got a Story is going to be. Mix him up a little bit. Drum roll, please. Cue the sound effect. And we're going to interview. I think I've got just one. Ruth Vigil. We're coming at you.
I grabbed some gear, some help, and hit the road.
So I got a hold of Ruth, and we're taking a trip to northern Utah with the all-star crew. Got Troy, you probably remember him from the previous show. Got my daughter Mia, probably remember her from the previous show. And we're cruising in northern Utah. We're gonna interview Ruth and have a great story, whatever it's gonna be. Any comments, questions?
Back in the saddle.
Back in the
saddle. Yes! Woo!
And it's all well and good until we get stopped by a train.
Stop our momentum.
Curses foiled again.
That is as far as we're gonna get on this episode of You Got a Story. Hope that's not a sign of things to come.
Are you Ruth?
I am.
Wow. Great to meet you. I'm going to put down this gear. I'm Todd.
I'm Ruth. It's
How
sure
are
good
you?
to see you.
It is good to see you, too. Are you ready for this?
I don't know. Let's see.
What's your story?
And just like everybody, I guess I would start by saying I'm just a normal, everyday person.
And like any normal person, Ruth grew up having hopes and dreams, even if her normal hopes and dreams didn't fit in with others' expectations.
I remember in school them asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, a mom. And they said, no, we need a job. And I said, I guess a teacher, because that was as close as I could come to in my mind of being a mom.
Being a mom was everything for Ruth. Everything she dreamed of, prayed for, expected.
Even as a child, my dream was to be a stay-at-home mom.
But life rarely goes as expected.
I feel robbed, and I wonder what it would be like.
What it would be like to have a house full of kids as she dreamed. But you should know, Ruth is a mom.
We were just married for about 2 months when our first baby was born. And he weighed 1 pound 14 ounces, and he was 14 inches long. He was born 2 months premature.
Doctors said Nathan should have been at least 4 pounds at birth. He struggled to survive in the hospital.
We brought him home just a few days after his original due date. So he lived for 2 months in the hospital. And it's been a journey ever since.
When Nathan was just 6 months old, Ruth's dreams were coming true as she became pregnant with a baby girl.
And then something in my heart told me that my daughter that I was pregnant with was going to be born with a heart defect. And this was nothing that it wasn't diagnosed.
But when Millie was born, her color wasn't good and her heartbeat erratic.
She was breathing funny. So they put her in the NICU, and I knew these NICU people because they had just taken care of Nathan a year and a half before. And so I went to one of them and I said, she's got a problem with her heart. She was born with a heart defect. And this lady was a dear friend, and she laughed at me and she said, Ruth, they've been doing an ultrasound on her heart for an hour. If there was a problem, they would have found it.
A few days later, lots of tests. Doctors couldn't find any problems. Ruth and her husband were ready to take Millie home.
Pediatrician gets on the phone and he says, the cardiologist just couldn't sleep last night. And so he was researching hard to find heart defects. And he found one he wanted to look for. So he called in a team in the nighttime and they did an ultrasound and they found this heart defect.
A mother's intuition was right. Millie would go on to have 2 open heart surgeries, but she continued to get worse.
They found that she had pulmonary stenosis. So all of the 4 veins that brought the blood back from her lungs to her heart were narrowing down. And this was a condition that was not surgically correctable. It was nothing they could fix. And she was deemed terminally ill. We just went home and enjoyed what time we had with her. And she lived until she was 14 months old. She passed away 10 days before Christmas in 1995.
Ruth was devastated, but had to try to keep it together to take care of Nathan.
And it's hard because my husband was grieving, and husbands and wives don't grieve the same. They grieve totally differently from each other. So it was just a really hard time.
And in Ruth's mind, if a baby was taken away, she wanted to add another baby, despite the loss of Millie and the scare with Nathan.
A little more than a year after Millie died, we were holding our 3rd baby, a healthy baby boy. It was the first time I'd taken a baby home from the hospital.
And when Braden was 2 years old, you'd know what Ruth was thinking.
So soon we were expecting baby number 4. And that pregnancy went along pretty well.
Colin was born and everything seemed fine until Ruth went in for her 6-week checkup.
And my doctor looked at Colin and said, he's yellow, he's jaundiced. Babies at this age are not this jaundiced. He said, you get him to the pediatrician right now.
Ruth did, within minutes. They tested, monitored, and Colin improved.
I had gone to a therapy appointment and I had taken him with me. And my therapist said, something's not right with him. You need to take him to the doctor. And I didn't see anything wrong, and so I didn't take him to the doctor. And a day or so later, I went to a church meeting, and one of my friends at church walked up and she was talking to Colin in the car seat, and she said, what's the matter, Colin? Don't you feel well? So other people were noticing that he was not well.
Ruth didn't see it. The jaundice had cleared up.
And then on Sunday, I went to get Braden out of his bed, and the boys shared a room, and I found Colin had passed away in the night. So he was just laying in his crib. I didn't realize at first there was a problem, and when I went to pick him up, that's when I realized.
The autopsy revealed no explanation.
And the fact that we don't know what caused his death, and the fact that people noticed that he was sick. I just think he was sick with something. I just don't know what it was.
But Ruth says something incredible happened that night that her 3-year-old Braden told her the next day.
And he said, there was a fire in Colin's bed last night and it poked him, but it didn't hurt him. And he said, I love you and goodbye. So that's been a treasured memory.
What do you think that meant?
Well, another religious leader, when she'd heard the story, she found a scripture talking about fire encircling children, angels encircling children as if they're in fire. So I really believe it was angels that had come to take Colin, and that's why he was able to tell his brother goodbye.
Did you think, why? Why did I have to go through all this?
Yes, especially after Colin died, I really felt picked on. I'd heard of people losing babies before, but after Millie died, I thought I paid my price. This is what I have to endure, but I don't know very many people that have had to endure that more than once.
Still trying to cope even years later when her younger son was in high school, Ruth found a way. At least a way to dull the pain.
I didn't want to live anymore, but I was so afraid to die. And alcohol let me escape. I didn't have to live and I didn't have to die, and I just didn't have to. So I quickly got into trouble with alcohol.
But the last 4 years, she's been sober. Life's better, but not what she dreamed of.
I'm not on the other side of it. I'm not okay. There's no white picket fence, and financially things are still hard, and emotionally things are still hard, and I'm okay with not being okay.
And as difficult as this may sound, Ruth says she will never be okay in this lifetime.
Until I get to pass away and be with my family members. I believe I'll be with my family, and that's when I'll be okay. When I've never had all 4 of my children in one room, and when I can have all 4 of my children together around me, then I will be okay.
So it is still that very ordinary dream of family and being a mom that gives Ruth hope for tomorrow.
I have 2 that give me a reason to get up every morning, and I have 2 that give me a reason to strive for the eternities.
Ruth's plans, her hopes, her dreams were all about family. But the older I've gotten, the more I realize that whatever you have planned for life, life has a different plan. And the true test of life is how you deal with what life throws at you. And I think for our first story on You Got a Story, we have knocked it out of the park. We'd love to tell your story. So please go to yougotastory.com and you can submit your information to us, and we might pull it out of a hat. Better yet, go to yougotastory.com and make a donation so we can keep telling these incredible stories like Ruth's. It might be yours. So until I pull your name out of a hat, I hope to see you next time on You Got a Story. All right, so fortunate meeting here. Steve came up to say hi here in the, what are we, you're swimming?
Brigham City's city
pool?
City pool.
Okay, yeah.
With a youth group.
With a youth group. And did you think we were shooting the old show?
I wasn't sure what to expect. I just saw your cameras. I'm like, oh, he's doing something. I know that
Yeah.
face. Gotta go say hi.
Did you know the old show's done?
I didn't actually.
Okay, the old show's done. But the new show's starting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Let's do a promo.
Okay.
I've been begging people to donate. What I mean, would you love to see the reboot?
You are that show, in my opinion. I think you did a great job. So I think you need to be promoted. So yes.
Well, the thing is, you are that show. Everybody's that show.
Sure.
You got a story.
Oh, you're gonna do that, are you? Okay.
Everybody's got a story, you know? So in a nutshell, what's your story?
That's my story.
Yeah.
I wondered if this day would ever come.
Yeah, well, it just happened because let me tell you what Steve did. He gave me a donation. He put dollars in my hand because he heard what we're doing with You Got a Story. And so you didn't buy your way into telling me your story. But I got my phone out and I'm like, we're just going to put you on.
We're gonna wing it.
Yeah. So what's your story?
What is my story? Well, love my wife. Got 7 kids. Wow. Yeah,
That's a story.
that is a story. Ranging from 22 down to 6.
Wow.
Really enjoy my job. I don't know. I've got a very blessed life. And I'm excited that I got to run into you. For me, this is exciting. This is a show the story trek my wife and I watched for forever.
Yeah.
So
It was on for 12 seasons,
Yeah.
you know, and it was a ton of fun to do. So if we can make a go of You Got a Story, then hopefully it's on forever. And then when I'm done and gone from this world, somebody can take over for me, you know. Steve,
it's a great idea.
you're a good man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the train has stopped. And now, yeah, I knew it was going to start moving backwards. Okay.
Oh, now it's gonna stop again.
Oh, great. This is the glamour of television, by the way.
Troy, are you Jake from State Farm?
Yes.
Camera's a little tall for you, isn't it?
A little bit.
The making of. This is how we do it. Suck in that gut.
I know, I'd always hated this show.
Yeah. Get your story here.